Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we debuted a really cool Golisopod and Raikou team. This was a team that got top 32 at Worlds this year, and easily one of my favorite teams that I've played with so far. It's just so creative and works in a very, very unique way. So, we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Details for the team are down in the description below. And question of the day, I want to know what your favorite match from the 2022 World Championships was down in the comment section below if you tuned into Worlds. So, thanks so much for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. The Title 1 thumbnail game is the first one coming up, but as always, all the games are pretty exciting, and let's get started. We've got Dialga and Calyrex Shadow Rider with Landorus, Indeedee, Gastrodon, and Porygon. Another Gastrodon, which I don't love seeing. Snarl from Raikou feels fairly valuable here. Probably don't bring Tornadus. I think it's Raikou, Groudon, maybe Raikou Kyogre. Groudon, Golisopod. Calyrex Dialga is a really interesting restricted duo. Haven't really fought against that very much, but we don't have any ghost resistances, so that's pretty scary. But Snarl helps out a lot. Like, Snarl plus Origin Pulse can just KO Calyrex. We do have, like, this is probably, like, the best 4 Pokemon to bring to beat Gastrodon, because I have Snarl on Raikou, Ice Beam on Kyogre, Precipice Blades on Groudon, and then Leech Life on Golisopod. But with Incineroar, like, it doesn't even have a dark type physical attack onto Calyrex, so it's not that valuable. Intimidate would only really be for Landorus, and Tornadus would be for Tailwind, which actually could make some sense, because, like, right now their team feels like maybe it's got a Trick Room component to it, right? But if Dialga's just max speed here, that could be scary. So, like, they could play a fast mode, right? Calyrex, Landorus, Dialga, plus Gastrodon, and then that's where Tailwind would be a lot more valuable for me. But I think having Raikou in itself should be pretty good in a Calyrex. We have a lot of bulk to work with here. It's going to be Porygon 2 and Gastrodon, though. Okay. Ugh, this is a doozy. Like, this is why Gastrodon is just so hard to fight against, right? Because, you know what I could do? I think I'm actually going to go for it. Self-Volt Switch into... But they could be Eerie Impulse Porygon, no? Yeah. I was going to Self-Volt Switch, activate Policy, max Hailstorm Gastrodon, but I'm not even sure that gets a one-hit knockout, and if it doesn't, they Trick Room and then Eerie Impulse me. It's just such a waste. I'm just going to Snarl Ice Beam on turn 1. Like, essentially I'm going to attack around Porygon at this moment. Okay. Yeah, they go for Yawn. Oh, until a Raikou slot. That's interesting. Maybe they were expecting you to switch out and trying to catch the whatever was switching in, which would make a lot of sense to me. I have Max Lightning, so I can set up the Electric Terrain. I want to go for the Policy activation, but I don't think it's worth it. I'm down to switch out into Golisopod right now, and just Ice Beam again into Gastrodon. Basically, like, if Porygon 2 couldn't learn Eerie Impulse, I would be down to just, like, go for the Self-Volt Switch play turn 1, because even if it doesn't KO Gastrodon, then turn 2 I can Max Lightning Porygon to prevent Yawn shenanigans, and turn 3 KO Gastrodon with another Hailstorm. And I actually think that trade-off is worth it, because Gastrodon is such a nuisance for this team. And they just go for Foul Play. Okay, that's not great. Golisopod switching. And I get crit. It's ugly. Good Yawn there. We're chipping away at Gastrodon, which is nice, though, you know. I have First Impression onto it this next turn, but I feel like it's likely they just Protect. I'm down to still go for it, though, because if they Foul Play me and they Protect, I get, like, they switch me out and I get a free switching back in, right? And if they don't Protect, that would be ideal. So I'm down to pivot out here. Let's go into Raikou, because I don't want Groudon taking unnecessary damage right now. And then I can bring out Groudon to replace Golisopod. Maybe I should have just Leech Life. I feel like Gastrodon protecting here is just so obvious. Would you really risk it? The answer is yes, though. Okay, they give it to me. Oh my gosh. It still survives. You can see why I really dislike fighting against Gastrodon now with this team, right? I've committed Snarl, Ice Beam, First Impression, and it is still hanging around. But I'm honestly okay with this because we've done so much damage to it at this point. If it actually has recovered though, man, that's a problem. Yeah, so they keep going for Yawn, but that's okay because I keep switching out. It's not the end of the world. We've seen only Foul Play on Trick Room on Porygon thus far. Trick Room is slowly getting stalled out as well. 2 turns left. Yeah, I'm gonna go for another Ice Beam here, and I'm actually done a Volt Switch here because I want to get Golisopod in safely, and I don't want to eat up another Foul Play like I did earlier. That crit made things a little bit trickier. Yeah, Gastrodon finally protects, but that's fine. Basically, I don't want to switch Raikou to Golisopod and just hard eat a Foul Play, and there it is! There's Eerie Impulse. Okay, so glad my fear was actually validated. But this works out well because now Gastrodon can protect in front of the First Impression next turn. So we've done a lot of dancing around thus far, but I am fairly content with how I played this because there's a lot that could have gone wrong for me throughout the match. Especially if I just self-Volt Switch Activate Policy turn 1, but I played around it and you know, that ended up being the right decision. So what's interesting now is I have an angle, especially since I was lucky enough to get a crit there on Porygon, where I can switch Kyogre out into Groudon, First Impression Gastrodon, Dynamax Groudon next turn. I think that's what we're going to aim for here. Switch out and just First Impression. Gastrodon might switch out here. Like, switch out into Dialga is really strong. Good job on my opponent to recognize how strong the Porygon Gastrodon lead was. Like, I feel like I've played as well as possible against it, so I'm pretty content. Interesting, I actually brought Landorus, okay. Normally that'd be a problem, but I think the fact that they brought it out now is actually beneficial for me because it means that Groudon doesn't get intimidated, which is a really big deal. And I pressure Porygon with a Life Orb Max Quake next turn. Maybe it would have been better to stay in with Kyogre there, because if I had actually clicked First Impression and Ice Beam onto the Gastrodon slot, that would have nailed Landorus, but I honestly just didn't expect Landorus in the back here for my opponent. Porygon actually just recovers. Okay, that's a good recover. I don't even know if I want to Dynamax Groudon now then, truthfully, because like Landorus could just switch out. But maybe they just Dynamax and Airstream Golisopod. Oh, this is still such an awkward position. What restricted did they not bring? Dialga or Calyrex? I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna max Rockfall Landorus here and then switch out into Raikou. I want to conserve Golisopod because it's pretty good into Porygon and Gastrodon. My opponent's played this really nicely though, I think. I feel like I've done a solid job playing around everything thus far. Okay, they don't Dynamax Landorus, so Life Orb Rockfall maybe can KO thanks to the First Impression chip damage that we got. Depends on if Landorus has any bulk. I wouldn't bet on it though. I would expect Landorus to survive on like 10-15%, but I don't know how accurate my Life Orb Rockfall calcs are here into a regular Landorus, which is not a scenario I've really been into much. Oh, wow. They are slow Landorus. Huh, okay. Yeah, I might still get wrecked under Trick Room. Like, I committed so many resources to try to beat Gastrodon, and still managed to survive all of those turns, which is omega painful. Let's see if Rock falls into a KO. That'd be huge if it were. Yeah, thanks to it being slow, it doesn't look like it. Although I can Weather Ball Rockfall at next turn. Weather Ball would give me a little bit of chip damage. But they could just Trick Room with Porygon now. But okay, they're not going to Trick Room out, I think, if they're Airstreaming here. It does go into Golisopod. I've had to play so carefully to try to win this one. And they just foul play. Okay. Is their Landorus fast enough at +1 to outspeed the Raikou now is my question. Because then they could just Quake that slot, obviously. So you're at 126. Or lower. So you can outspeed me, but it's not guaranteed if you're under 120 speed, but that would be kind of bizarre. Could make sense though. Maybe they have enough speed just to outspeed like base 100s at +1. Go for another Rockfall here. I don't really want to switch either of these into a Max Quake, I think, so I'll just give up Raikou. And there is the chance that, we'll go for Weather Ball here. There's a chance that they don't have enough speed to outspeed me even at +1 because they're really slow. And yeah, they are slower. Okay, cool. I don't know if Rockfall gets the KO here, but it should be in Sucker Punch KO range now. But like Porygon and Gastrodon is just such a strong defensive core against what we have, especially because they have Eerie Impulse. So I don't know, it's just really hard to fight against. And if they have late game Calyrex now, that could also still be a major problem for me. And we don't even KO Landorus. Like they have so much bulk to work with on their team here. So they foul play me, yeah. And the problem is the amount of recovery thanks to recover from Porygon and leftovers from Gastrodon, right? So I can go into Golisopod now. I haven't revealed Sucker Punch, so Sucker Punch into Landorus and Max Quake here is fairly strong. Actually, I'd rather just First Impression, right? No need to reveal Sucker Punch. And I should survive a foul play with Sand, but I'm not 100% on that. Also curious on the item on Landorus. We haven't really seen yet. It wasn't a Life Orb, though. Yeah, this game was like such thin margins, right? Because if Gastrodon just fainted earlier, I would have been in such a better spot. Okay, Landorus actually switches out. It's a free First Impression into whatever's coming in. And they're going to sacrifice Gastrodon. I'm okay with that, because now it means I can play much more loosely with Kyogre. But I've spent 6 turns trying to KO Gastrodon, it feels like. Which is painful. So we'll get Max Quake off here. They most likely will now finally set up Trick Room, but I've like gotten so much damage on everything. I'm so close to just, you know, finally KOing everything. Landorus, Porygon, and Gastrodon have all been such low HP throughout this game. And they go for Trick Room, okay. Late game Dialga's looking kind of scary now as well, but I do have a special defense boost at least. I'm faster than Porygon, so I can just I was gonna say Drowin. I was gonna say I can Leech Life it for a KO. They bring Landorus back out. So Landorus doesn't have the speed boost anymore. I mean, I really want the KO onto Porygon here. I guess the thing is, does -1 Leech Life get the knockout onto it from that range? And does Foul Play KO Groudon? No, it shouldn't. Okay, if Porygon survives -1 Leech Life, then I will just cry. It's at like 10%. It's so low. But they could go for like Recover into Rock Slide or Earthquake right now. Like, I could have gotten the knockout on a Landorus with Leech Life and then Precipice Blades, but we'll see. Alright, Golispod, you got me? It has 1 HP! Oh, man. Oh, they actually go for Fly, okay. I like that a lot on there, and I think that's smart. Ugh. Like, yeah, I could have knocked out Landorus and gotten a single target Precipice Blades into Porygon. Maybe that was just the better play, but I just really didn't think Porygon was actually going to survive that. But, man, this Pokemon is just so clutch. Okay. How many turns of Trick Room are left? Rock Slide, 3. We still don't know what their final restricted is. Switch on into Kyogre. Yeah, that might have been a mistake then, I guess, to not target Landorus and just get that guaranteed knockout onto that, but I don't know, I was thinking if I just get the KO there, I should win the game, and they survived on like 1 HP, so it's a gamble I'm willing to take, especially because Precipice Blades can miss Porygon as well. But man, the bulk on this team is just so hard for me to fight against right now. Porygon's gonna recover. One play I can consider, by the way, is like Self-Thunder Punch into Origin Pulse in this late game. That's so much damage, jeez. Okay, what is their restricted? We haven't even seen the restricted pick yet. If it's Calyrex, it's interesting because I could actually just Precipice Blaze Origin Pulse you. If it's Dialga, I could Protect Groudon, right? Okay, it is Dialga. I'm at -1 attack, +1 special defense. They could Eerie Impulse me right now. Porygon can continue recovering. Still 2 turns of Trick Room to fight against as well. I feel like my endgame is switching out Groudon and then getting it back in. So I'm down to go out in a Golisopod here and Origin Pulse. The fly was really good on their end as well because it prevented them from just like losing a Pokemon and it got a lot of damage onto Kyogre. Okay, they foul play the Golisopod switch in. I survive on 13. Oh, they Roar of Time! That's huge! The reason that's huge... Oh man, this is so close. Like, it depends if Groudon survives a foul play from their end. Because if I survive, I can Precipice Blades, which just knocks out the Porygon, and Leech Life. Last turn of Trick Room. Yeah, Leech Life Porygon here and Precipice Blades. And we're Life 4 Precipice Blades, so I would expect that to just KO Dialga. So Dialga can't move. Porygon has to foul play. I mean, you just foul play Groudon here, hope it's enough to KO, right? I'm going for Leech Life here for recovery, by the way. Because the game kind of hinges off surviving Precipice Blades anyway. Actually, I'm not sure about that. I do faint after Blades. First Impression might have actually won me the game there. It would have done just a little bit more damage. Oh, I messed that up. The question now is whether or not they anticipate Sucker Punch. Unless we're faster than Porygon, but no, they have a speed boost from earlier, right? I should have just gone for First Impression. I didn't need the recovery. That extra little bit of base damage may have been enough to win this game. I think not knowing my Golisopod calc super well here hurt me a fair amount. This turn is basically a debate on do they just go for foul play? Or do they go for recover? Because if they recover, I could actually win by Leech Lifing. I think I'm just going to go for the Sucker Punch. No recover! Golisopod, yes! Thank you! Holy cow, that was one of the craziest games we've had in a while. If they click recover there, they just win. And I think it's in their favor to go for it because I don't do as much with Leech Life there, but that was one of the craziest games. I had to work so hard to win that one. It was Assault Vest Landorus, max HP, max attack. Yeah, there's just so much bulk here. Dialga, Psychic Seed, Indeedee, Focus Sash, Calyrex. Yeah, I think it makes so much sense for them to play towards the Trick Room mode, but I feel like I brought my best Pokemon, played decently well, and I still had to work so hard for that win. But part of it was like all of their Pokemon just hung on with like 1 to 5% in that game, right? Gastrodon surviving like the double Ice Beam Snarl into First Impression, Porygon surviving the -1 Leech Life, Landorus surviving and being at like 5% as well. So I had to work so hard for that one, but that's definitely one of the most exciting games I feel like we've had in a while. And so happy to get Golisopod the win there, and it finally came clutch for us there in the very end. Ooh, Mienshao here with Zacian, Calyrex, Incineroar, Zapdos, and Gastrodon. So 4 of the 6 Pokemon from the World Championship winning team. Instead of Thundurus, there's Zapdos, and instead of Rillaboom, there's Mienshao. Mienshao could be a pretty big problem for me thanks to Wide Guard. That's one thing to watch out for. Unfortunately, this is not really a great Golisopod game either. So if you want to watch Golisopod put in work, yeah, I'd recommend the last episode because it was super, super essential in that. That's linked in the description below. I'm trying to figure out who to drop here. Because, like, Raikou's pretty interesting because it's immune to Fake Out on turn 1, so I could lead something like Tornadus Raikou. Maybe I just don't bring Incineroar in this one. We don't have a Dark-type attack on it either. Like, I could go Tornadus plus Raikou lead, Kyogre plus Groudon in the back. Because basically... but they have Gastrodon. Gastrodon is actually, I think, one of the hardest Pokemon for this team to go up against. Actually, because of Gastrodon alone, I might want to bring Golisopod. Which never feels great. But, like, I could go with Tornadus plus Raikou lead. How do I slot in Golisopod? Maybe I just don't bring Raikou then, right? Like, what if I go with Tornadus plus the Groudon and then Kyogre plus Golisopod? Basically, like, I think the matchup against Gastrodon's really hard for a couple of reasons. One, it makes Kyogre's life a lot more difficult, right? Where I just can't max it very easily. And Kyogre's best offense is, like, Ice Beam or Max Hailstorm into it. Groudon, like, can't get a one-hit knockout onto it guaranteed with Life Orb Max Quake either, and so you can just, you know, Max Quake, but then they can just Protect, and then I'd spend, like, 3 turns of Dynamax to deal with it, right? Which is really annoying. So, they're gonna go with Mienshao and Calyrex. You know what's interesting here is only one Pokemon can actually carry Focus Sash. Turn 1, I'm pretty content going for Double Protect into Tailwind Max Quake turn 2. And then we'll go from there. But I don't know where the Focus Sash is, right? Because if I could guess it correctly, that would give me a pretty significant advantage. I guess I don't need to Protect with Groudon on turn 1 either, right? I could just Dynamax it immediately. But I don't want to get hit by a Will-O-Wisp here from Calyrex, so I'm down to just Double Protect. This is where Raikou actually would have been pretty sweet, because I could have just protected Raikou on turn 1 and gone for like a Thunder Wave, Volt Switch, or Snarl onto the Calyrex. All of those would have been pretty sweet, but basically my problem... Oh, okay, they're going to max the Calyrex. That makes me think you're Life Orb then. This is where Max Guard Groudon would have been a lot better for me then, I think. Unless they went Fake Out Max Phantasm into Tornadus. Because I'm going to take so much damage. Like, next turn I can Tailwind and Max Quake, but... how much is that really worth it for me? I do, interestingly enough, have Sucker Punch on Golisopod, so that's one thing to consider, but they should have Zacian plus... Oh, Mienshao could have Feint here as well. That would be a crazy play. Okay, they just Wide Guard. That's fine. So Tailwind Max Quake actually would have worked out mighty fine here, but I'm okay with this outcome, I think. And they do target Tornadus. Okay, that's not terrible then. Although, yeah, since we were Focus Sash there, if I actually just Tailwind Max Quake Calyrex turn 1, I actually feel like I win the game from that spot, which is wild to think about. Okay, so I'm down to Tailwind now. Kind of want to switch Groudon out here. Stalls out another turn of their Dynamax. I could see them close combating. I actually don't hate going to Golisopod. Where's the Focus Sash on this team? Like, you would think it's on Mienshao, no? Yeah, I'm down to Tailwind and going to Golisopod, because if Golisopod survives the turn, what's interesting is next turn... Okay, they actually switch Mienshao out. That's fine. Into Incineroar. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so now my question is, did you bring Gastrodon? Like, dropping Zacian for Gastrodon makes a ton of sense in this matchup, in my opinion. So I'm glad I switched out. This switch out actually ends up working out very nicely for us. Because now, like, Life Orb Groudon is positioned really nicely for the subsequent turns, because their Incineroar stuck out on the field. So we'll get Tailwind up here. They Phantasm into Tornadus. Okay, so that will give them a boost. I think I gotta go into Groudon here. I can't, like, Kyogre looks amazing here, right? But the problem is if I go out into Kyogre, they can just, switch into Gastrodon. Like, I'm down to go out into Groudon here, and First Impression plus Max Quake. Part of me is thinking about Max Rock Falling here, because they could be Shuka Berry, but the special defense boost is really strong for us here, I think. So, yeah, I'm down to Quake into the Incineroar slot. First Impression plus Quake into Calyrex is also really interesting, I think. Okay, I'm actually kind of down for that. Golisopod's out in a decent spot right now. I mean, it could be bulky Calyrex, I suppose. But we're going to Dynamax. Calyrex is so much of their offense right now, right? Let's say they have Gastrodon as their fourth, then Life Orb Groudon looks incredible into all of those. Especially if we can get 2 full Max Quakes off. So that's what we're looking for. So Groudon's going to Dynamax here. Let's see. Okay, they just go for Fake Out, though. That's fine. Like, I could have maybe threatened Incineroar with a one-hit knockout, but the thing is, now with Max Quake, I get a special defense boost, Sucker Punch can KO Calyrex next turn, and then I can just Rockfall Incineroar the subsequent turn. They might Phantasm my Golisopod, though, I suppose, but then I'd get a free switch into Kyogre, which I can or just Origin Pulse, which is fine. Max Overgrowth, okay. On a Groudon. That's fine. A little bit scary there, I suppose, but that almost makes me feel like they could be Choice Specs Calyrex and they just chose to max it on turn 1 of the battle, but I guess I can't say that with 100% confidence yet. That's definitely interesting, though. Yeah, I mean, now I have Sucker Punch into that slot, which is nice. So I can go for Sucker Punch, and I can target the Incineroar slot. Yeah, it's just, are you Shuka Berry? I might want to go for Rockfall here instead. Yeah, I'm going to go for Rockfall here. I don't think getting another special defense boost is that valuable right now since we have Sucker Punch anyway on Golisopod to pressure Calyrex. But basically, when I see Leaf Storm, like, it, you know, Calyrexes can run a lot of moves, but you typically see, like... Oh! Wow, okay, I did not expect that. Helping Hand, that's really scary. But let's see if Life Orb Max Quake gets the one-hit KO onto Incineroar. I would expect it to, personally. Nice. Okay, cool, cool. So that's good. But obviously it was a missed opportunity to just click something like Leech Life there. But I'm not really ever expecting Helping Hand there, honestly. And like I said, I thought it might have been Choice Specs Calyrex given how turn 1, like, given the Leaf Storm. So it's Astral Barrage. I mean, I would guess they don't have Protect. Like, do you really drop a Psychic type attack? That would be surprising to me. So unfortunately, like, Golispod hasn't actually been able to do too much thus far, but that's okay. This is where if I just maxed Rockfall previously, well, Groudon would have taken more damage, which isn't ideal. Still curious about the item on the Calyrex. We still got a Kyogre in the back, but once again, like, I'm playing in a way that wants to respect Gastrodon as much as possible. But they didn't bring Gastrodon. It's actually Zacian as the 4th. Okay. That's so frustrating. I spent the whole game trying to beat Gastrodon just for it to not even be in the back. You would expect Zacian to Protect here, right? Oh, late game wide guard for Mienshao is a nightmare. See, the thing is, I respected Gastrodon so much that I brought a Pokemon for it in Golisopod, and I ended up not bringing Kyogre earlier when I could have. And that's what really stings here. Okay, I'm actually going to Max Quake Zacian and switch out into Kyogre here. Basically, the logic is that, like, I get another special defense boost this way. Yeah, Calyrex switches out. Okay, cool. And so, like, even with Zacian protecting here, it's okay. And if they don't protect, they'd actually just lose the game. Like, if they got really greedy and didn't protect for whatever reason. But the problem now is I have to deal with this late game wide guard pressure from Mienshao. And so, that's probably one of the... Like, wide guard's one of the worst moves that we could go up against here. If I had just, like, quaked the Calyrex slot there, would have gotten the knockout onto Mienshao, we might have been okay as well. Like, the problem is now playing against this late game Zacian with wide guard support from my opponent's end. It's a ton of damage from Max Quake, though. We'll take that. This next turn, they can just Fake Out plus Behemoth Blade. I will likely just double Protect to stall the turn. And then Mienshao will probably click Wide Guard, but they could just Close Combat. Close Combat's really strong here as well. So, like, I think part of the problem in this game was... There's so many problems, but one, like, Gastrodon is one of the toughest Pokemon I go up against, so I really wanted to dedicate a Pokemon to beat it. Golisopod unfortunately had very little value for me. I think if I had just Rockfalled the Incineroar earlier, I would have gotten an extra turn of Tailwind to really take advantage of, allowing me to Quake or, you know, Mienshao or Zacian. So I didn't utilize my Tailwind as well as I could have here. Yeah, I'm okay just double protecting here, I think. We could win this, but it is looking a lot tougher because of how well they conserved Mienshao. So... Maybe I got a little bit greedy with the first impression Max Quake play onto Calyrex earlier on in the game as well. Like, yeah. I think that was maybe overly ambitious, because they're almost always clicking Fake Out there. I was also thinking about Dynamaxing Golisopod, because then I can, like, Max Darkness Precipice Blades, which would be pretty interesting. Yeah, they just go for Wide Guard. That's fine. And I would think you target Groudon here. Close Combat into Kyogre. Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. The thing is, if you're using Close Combat, that means you're using a Fighting type attack. And if you're using a Fighting type attack... Sorry, you're lowering your defenses, right? Meaning that Thunder Punch plus Thunder might actually just get the KO. So I'm down to go for that. The thing is, now they might just attack with Mienshao and double Close Combat a Pokemon. That's actually what I would do if I were in their shoes. So maybe I should have just risked it for the biscuit. But I don't know, if you were going to go for that last turn, would you really not go for it again? Because they probably feel like it's their safest option. Yeah, this is interesting because Close Combat does more damage, but this is really defensive Kyogre, so I definitely expect to survive. Okay, they've got Ally Switch. So Precipice Blades there, yeah, would have won it for me. Maybe it's okay though. I do get the knockout here. I even got a paralysis there. Groudon is at +2 special defense, so I actually expect to survive Astro Barrage, no? Oh, this is going to be such a close finish. Yeah, I respect the Wide Guard though. Sorry, the Ally Switch. I think it makes sense because when you're the Wide Guard user, like, you have the advantage, right? Because your opponent essentially is always going to try to respect it. So no more Wide Guard support. Like, it could be Specs Calyrex, right? No, it can't be. They went for Helping Hand. Like, I mean, is there a world where it's Specs plus Helping Hand? How do I position this? Because if you're not Choice Specs, like, I would expect to survive Leaf Storm here. And Kyogre also has a special defense boost. So I actually kind of want to just click Precipice Blades and Origin Pulse right now. The alternative is protecting a Pokemon, but I think I'm just going to go for it. And if they are Specs Calyrex, so be it. Okay, they go for Astro. I actually expect to survive with both Mons here. So if I get one attack off with either, I win. Nice. I say I win, but it's not guaranteed yet, because I'm not sure Golisopod can clutch it for us. But with Drone, I actually think it's enough. So if I don't miss Origin Pulse here, I think we're good. But I have to hit both right now. Come on, Kyogre, please. Nice. Okay, no delay, so we hit both. Awesome. Should KO Calyrex now, do a ton into Zacian. Beautiful. Wow, that was a really intense game. Yeah, there's just so much going on there with the Wide Guard support. But I think ultimately, yeah, knowing that we had the special defense boost was so critical here with both Pokemon. We had enough bulk to work with. So I'm really happy about that one since, like, Golisopod ended up not being very valuable. But I felt like it was the right Pokemon choice to bring because if they brought Gastrodon over Zacian, I'd have no matchup, it feels like, if I don't have Golisopod. I wouldn't say no matchup because the late game Groudon is still really powerful, but it is really tricky to, like, maximize value out of. So yeah, I think Wide Guard plus Gastrodon is one of the nastiest combos that we could face against with this team. But since they didn't bring Gastrodon, it actually made things maybe a little bit easier for us. But yeah, I think the main thing is, you know, they Dynamax Calyrex early and we were able to stall out the Dynamax relatively effectively, which was huge. But it's been a while since we've fought against Mienshao. It certainly gave me a lot of trouble here. So let's look for one more. Okay, third game of the day, and we're up against a very standard Zacian Kyogre with Zapdos, Rillaboom, Incineroar, and Grimmsnarl. This really dominated, I feel like, the majority of the last few months as one of the premier Zacian Kyogre compositions. I think the debate I always have is whether or not I want to bring Incineroar into the matchup. Because, like, I like something like Tornadus Raikou, Kyogre, Groudon. This makes me a little bit more Rillaboom weak, though, but I'm still down to commit to it. Golisopod's somewhat interesting here because it's really good into Rillaboom, but it's kind of weak into everything else. I don't think it's worth bringing. If this is just the classic Assault Vest Kyogre, like, it'll be kind of annoying to deal with in the early game, but that's okay. Because essentially, like, we'll want to just maybe go for Snarl onto them. If they could activate our policy on Kyogre, that would benefit me greatly as well. And they're going to go with Kyogre and the Zacian. Okay. I mean, this is one of the most offensive leads they could go with, right? So I think this is a really strong option by them to counteract somewhat more, let's say, passive lead on my end. But a Precipice Blades will just KO Zacian. I'm not completely opposed to the idea of, like, Protect turn 1 into Snarl here. I don't want to Volt Switch because I don't want either Pokemon in the back to really take any damage, but Snarl helps out against what I think is going to be their max option on turn 1. And if they end up maxing Kyogre and eat up a special attack drop immediately, I think that puts me in a pretty decent spot going into turn 2 of the game, because I can bring out Groudon and then play the game from there. What's interesting if I bring out Groudon is they could obviously pivot into Incineroar or Rillaboom, right? But I could go for like a Precipice Blades plus a Heat Wave, which would cover for a switch into pretty much anything. But I think I like this lead a lot from their end. I was expecting to maybe see like a Fake Out user or Grimmsnarl, for example, maybe a Zapdos. But when you want like as much damage pressure as possible with the Kyogre Zacian teams, like this is your best lead, right? Because it's just max Kyogre plus Zacian just can nuke so many things in this format. Okay, so we're going to protect with the Tornadus here. Oh, wow, okay. That's a really slow Zacian. It's slower than Raikou. Yeah, that was a crit onto Kyogre, so that's definitely Assault Vest. Okay, they Behemoth Blade into Tornadus. Cool, that works. And Max Geyser. If we survive Max Geyser and Raikou here, that'd be huge, assuming they target Raikou. Beautiful. Okay, nice. That's awesome. What do I want to do now? I know that you're slower than Raikou with Zacian, so you're super bulky. It's fine to click Tailwind here. The reason I didn't want to Tailwind last turn, by the way, is because I want to stagger my Tailwind to maximize my value of it in this matchup. I could Snarl again. Here they might Hailstorm me, but if I get 2 Snarls on a Kyogre, maybe it doesn't do enough. I have Thunder Wave as well into the Zacian slot, but I'm not sure that's really that essential right now. I could obviously just Volt Switch out, right, and then bring out something immediately, like my own Kyogre. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that here, I think. Because, like, Kyogre's really defensive here, so I could take any attacks from their end, and I don't think as another Snarl really helps me out very much right now anyway. I don't love the idea of losing both Pokemon potentially this turn to, like, a Sacred Sword Max Hailstorm play. So now I get Policy Kyogre out. The question is basically what support my opponent has in the back. I certainly expect Rillaboom as one of the two, which can be pretty tricky for endgames, but the question is what the other one is going to be. Blade into Tornadus, that's fine. Brings us down to Sash, cool. Let's see where Kyogre's targeting. Okay, just a Geyser, that's fine. Nice, into the Kyogre slot, okay. That was a hefty amount though, maybe a little bit more than I would have liked to take there, but not the end of the world. The question is who I want to Dynamax in this game, because like late game Rillaboom is actually a pretty huge problem for me to go up against. But I do have Policy on the Kyogre here. So I think this turn I'm down to Heat Wave and protect my Kyogre with the expectation of getting in Groudon and then clicking Precipice Blades the next turn. Yeah. And there's a chance that they max Lightning into my Kyogre, thus activating Weakness Policy, which would also be really good for me. But I'm dancing around late game Rillaboom right now, and that scares me a lot, I think. Okay, Zacian commits a Protect, that's fine. Maybe they Hailstorm Kyogre. I'd be very happy to see Max Lightning onto the Kyogre slot, because then it would activate my Weakness Policy, which would be very strong. It is Lightning. Okay, nice. They actually Lightning into Kyogre. So, I mean, I feel like this early game has gone really well. The question is now, how do I close out the match? Because, like, they've activated Policy. I still have turns of Tailwind to work with, right? So there's a lot that's in my favor right now. I'm actually debating, like, switching Tornadus out and back in, because I'd like to get another Tailwind up with this Pokemon in an ideal world. Because I don't think Raikou's that essential for me right now, and I think a late game second Tailwind is really strong. So I'm down to switch out into the Raikou here and just go for a Origin Pulse right now. Because the other thing is, this is really bulky, like, HP defense Kyogre. So, like, it could be a max option into Rillaboom and just try to one-shot Rillaboom with Max Hailstorm. We're gonna switch. Get Raikou back into the battle. Yep, Zacian switches. That might be Rillaboom coming in here. It is, okay. That's definitely pretty scary. Maybe Max... If I had Max Kyogre and Max Lightning their Kyogre this turn, that would be like a potentially game-winning play. I think it's still okay. This is a +2 Origin Pulse into Rillaboom in range, and Assault Vest is on Kyogre. They should do a hefty amount here. Yeah, that's a really good amount. And they go for their own Origin Pulse. Okay. That works. My question is now, what is the item on Rillaboom? Okay, Rillaboom's slower than their Kyogre. That's interesting. Can bring out Tornadus now. I think like what I want to do is bring out Tornadus. Double Protect here. And then Tailwind next turn. The problem is, like, Rillaboom has pinned my Kyogre into a kind of tough spot, so I almost feel forced to Dynamax it this next turn, which kind of sucks. But it might be okay. Because, like, a Weakness Policy Kyogre can sweep through my opponent's team pretty easily at this point in the battle. They fake out into Tornadus. That was an opportunity to actually just click Origin Pulse. Thunder into Kyogre, yeah. But seeing a fake out, like, the main thing I was worried about was maybe, like, Choice Band Rillaboom, because I expect to survive Grassy Glide after maxing Kyogre this next turn. Maybe that's ambitious, but this Kyogre is, like, almost max HP, max defense in terms of investment. Yeah, because now they can just Grassy Glide into the Kyogre slot, right? So I want to Tailwind, Dynamax, Max Lightning. And basically, if we survive Grassy Glide and Max Lightning one-shots Kyogre, I should be in a really good spot to win the game. Because then there's no more terrain for them, right? So you can't Grassy Glide again the next turn before we can KO them. But this is why Golisopod exists on the team. It's a really good Rillaboom answer. I just didn't know how to really slot it in properly in this matchup. And if Groudon had a Fire-type attack, I'd feel a little bit better, because I could just max that with more ease. But that's not the case here. Okay, so we get Tailwind up now. So we set up Tailwind twice in this game, which is sweet. Glide into Kyogre. Nice, we survive on 22. That's all I need if I can get the KO onto their Kyogre. I'm just not sure +2 Max Lightning KOs here, but it does. Okay, beautiful. Nice. We're still in a tricky spot since both of my Pokemon's HP stats are really low, but Kyogre now has the ability to just, like, one-shot things, right? If they bring out Zacian, like I can Heat Wave, for example, plus Max Geyser or Hailstorm. Probably don't want a Hailstorm because I don't want to take the chip damage. Yeah, so Zacian comes out. Okay. My only question is whether or not a Heat Wave would KO Rillaboom from that range. Because the play I want to make is just Heat Wave, and then just Max Geyser. Actually, I'm down to target the Rillaboom slot here because I could see Zacian protecting and then Rillaboom switching out into Incineroar. And Precipice Blades will always KO Zacian anyway. Oh, they have Quick Attack. That actually might be a game-winning Quick Attack. If they don't have Quick Attack here, like, we should be in a really good spot. But the problem is now they can snipe off my Kyogre this next turn. This is going to be a really close finish. Okay. Quick Attack was one of those moves that I feel like picked up a little bit, you know, leading up to Worlds. The other question is how bulky their Zacian is, but given that they were slow, I expect it to be fairly bulky here, right? So this turn you can just fake out Groudon, Quick Attack Kyogre. We go for a double Max Guard with Kyogre. It's Air Balloon as well? Oh, no way. Wow. Well, that's not good. I think I gotta protect Max Guard here. Wow, we ended up running into Quick Attack plus Air Balloon Incineroar. That is unfortunate. Okay. I could have protected Tornadus last turn, though, was the thing. But I don't regret going for that play, because if they don't have Quick Attack, it covers for pretty much everything they can opt for in that spot. Dynamax ends now, so now you would want to maybe go for another Quick Attack onto Kyogre. The fact that they're Air Balloon as well is like the worst item to run into here. That's the only item that could save them. Okay, I think I go for Precipice Blades here to try to KO Zacian and double protect with Kyogre. Don't get the double. Okay. Yeah, quick attack into Kyogre. Ah. Cool surprises, cool surprises. Doesn't affect Incineroar. We do connect, but at -1, I don't expect this to knock out. It was so close, too. Yeah, they were bulky. If they weren't bulky, we might have been able to get that KO. And then, like, I could actually maybe win Groudon versus Incineroar, because, like, I can take a Flare Blitz, and then I can Rock Slide, aim for a flinch onto the Incineroar. But I don't regret, like, the play that I made there. It's them having Quick Attack that made this a disaster, because they were able to snipe off everything while I had Tailwind advantage, right? But no shame in losing a game like this. I think my opponent played really nicely, and this is where, like, sometimes just those small attacks can give you such a major advantage, right? Because if Zacian doesn't have Quick Attack in this game, I feel really confident in winning, because the Kyogre can just KO everything before they can move. But Quick Attack just meant that I couldn't get an attack off with Tornadus or the Kyogre. Now, with Kyogre, I could have targeted the Zacian slot that turn with Geyser, but I really wanted the Rillaboom slot gone, because I figured, okay, if you switch into Incineroar, that's KO'd. If you stay in, Heat Wave might just KO you. Geyser just KO Zacian, so yeah. This is one of the times where it's a very, very clutch move, and I think that shows you why, like, having a, fort support move on Zacian can really lead to a lot of flexibility. So, really, really cool stuff there. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's episode, so thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. Alright, peace.